right, guys, welcome to Slick Speaks, and this is, the one and only the Slick here, talking to you on this glorious Wednesday. I understand we're still in the pandemic, so please, everybody, still be cautious, and we're not out of the mud yet, but keep your head headstrong, and like
You get
15 minutes, of course, this is a lot. When they see "Do Not Disturb," but that was my niece. When they see "Do Not Disturb," they still disturb. I don't understand. But I just have to bring up the whole fact of like the first I wouldn't say the first round of this, but like another round of stimulus has been going around, and people, I think, starting this week should be getting their stimulus packages. But I have a question for you guys, being that, there is gonna be some relief because a lot of people are out of work and a lot of people do have to stay home, so that does mean you have to cut profit. But I do have a question for you guys that are listening to this. If the bank made an error to your stimulus package that you were supposed to bring in, say a rough amount of like $8 million per se, if you have this $8 million just transferred to your account and you see it the next morning, what would you do? To be honest, I gotta be honest with you guys. But if I would have seen $8 million, I would have been like, okay, stimulus relief package. I would think the worst of scenarios that have me, burning my fingerprints and moving to a different location, growing out a beard, growing out, just facial, just everything just changes. Not saying I'll get plastic surgery, but I'll be off the grid, no cell phone, no nothing. Like, skate scot free. But that's just the thoughts that was rolling through my head when I heard this story about Indiana firefighter Charles Calvin. When he saw $8 million in his account, he was in so much of a shock because he felt like a millionaire for at least, I don't know how many minutes that he had it for, but his quote he quoted that it kind of sucks that he had to be a millionaire for just 1 second, and then the next second he's back to being a regular person, which means if it means broke for you, but a regular person is like a regular Joe Schmo. But the fact that he's seen $8 million, he knew it was a bankroll error, but there was so many possibilities of what can he do with that money that was dispersed to him. A lot of possibilities that would have went left to the fact of just the same way that I was going with burning my fingerprints and changing my facial appearance, and probably, I understand flights are at risk right now, but I will have to take a red eye to somewhere to get to just be off the grid, no cell phone, no nothing, and $1 million. But that was just the thoughts that was going in my head. Not saying that I would do it when the time comes, but that was just a thought that was just going through my head. Like, he could have not told anybody. He could have not told no news outlet. He could have just left everything alone. And he could have just went off scot free with $8 million. But not everything is free nowadays. So I have to say, that $8 million would have. I mean, if he would have stayed in states, it would have caught up to him because they would have figured out, yeah, you were not supposed to get $8 million. But for the stimulus package, deal, Mister Charles Calvin really took the initiative. Like, a lot of people would have kept it, just like when you lose your phone anywhere, and it's not. I know it's not just me, because I know when I lose my phone, literally anywhere that I go, even if it's a common area, even though, what is it? I know the place, I know what was going on, but every time I leave my phone somewhere and I can't find it, I feel like it's already gone. Like I'm already making left statements saying that, yep, I have to go get a new phone. I have to talk to the wireless carrier to give me a new phone because I'm already insured for a new phone. but I'm always thinking the bad scenarios. So, being that said, I know the government will keep track of like what is going on with the disbursement of the stimulus package. So if they would have seen an $8 million error, they would have came back. But there is that option of like they hand out $8 million and it will take them a long time to double back to figure out where the $8 million is. But that's just suggestions I have in my head because I honestly have to think about the whole scenario because Mr. Charles Carvin had a lot of whatchamacallit, a lot of possibilities, but it shows you there is heart in this pandemic, guys. So stay positive. And being positive, like, even though he saw that he was a millionaire, he could have done literally anything that he wanted to do with the money. $8 million. But think about it, you're in a pandemic, you can only do so much with the money. So that $8 million, that double back would have been real easy because it would have been like, okay, where did you get this $8 million from, Mr. Calvin? You were just a firefighter. Well, it's over. So I'm guessing he made the smart decision upon that. But there's still so many other ways that it could have went. And I would have to say, like, being that they did do a bank error and being that, like, I don't know what would you do with a bank error. I always, usually if it is a bank errors that, hurt me because there's these weird fees on accounts nowadays that just doesn't make any sense. That these But bank errors that go against me, usually I always, always address. But if there's a bank error that has to do with like either money or something like that, I know that's gonna come back. But do you think no, that's not a good not a good question. But do you think that no, that is not a good question because like they will the bank will always know. The bank will always win. Just like what is it? Just like if you go to Vegas or like if you go to any casino, the house will always win. So it's kind of like if the house did do an error, you would still end up paying. So regardless of the fact, I felt like that was a smart move in his decision. That was the only smartest move that he could make. Even though he felt like a millionaire, now he's back to being a regular person. That was the smartest move that he could ever make. And being that was the smartest move that he ever made. You and the fact that he has this weird anomaly bank error. Do you think that the stimulus package, even though I can't hear you guys, do you think that the stimulus package is gonna be like a thing that's gonna be double back and you have to give back at a certain point in time? I understand you might. What is it? They do have. I understand that there's a what is it? There's a clause behind the stimulus package. What is it? I don't hear anything about giving it back at a certain amount of time, but being that they are depositing it in our accounts, me, I was always taught up to be like, free is free to a certain extent. So I don't know where would you be going with this $1,200. What's gonna happen after this whole free is the government gonna be more willing to help the public, just handing stuff in directly, depositing in accounts, knowing that people really do need strife and help throughout these hard times, throughout this pandemic, that people are what is it? There's still a percentage of us taking it lightly. I would just feel like, being that so, will will they double back on the $1,200? I don't think so. For at the time being, I don't think so. There's no clause behind them taking money back. But in actuality, when has free ever been free? To be honest with you, there's always like a cost or something that you yeah. There's always something that comes with freedom, you know. So it's kind of like there's always this underlying feeling like this big um what is that? Bittersweet experience, kind of like sweet and sour sauce. Like there's a sweetness to it, but there is gonna be a sour. But is there going to be a sour? Is it going to be sweet all the way? But because all good things come to an end, you know. But for Mr. Jane Calvin, it came to an end really quick. $8 million bank error gone. If it was any other person, I'm saying myself, I have to think long and hard about this decision. To be honest with you, um, I don't know. It's just like the playmaker at the it's like the playmaker in basketball or in football that makes that miraculous catch or that miraculous 3-point shot or the dunk or the play to save the game. You don't know until you're in that position. So Mr. Calvin did do the smart decision because they was gonna double back and say, "Hey, sir, you are not a millionaire, okay? Hey, please, can you give us our money back? Yes, all of it. 8 millions of it. 8 million smackaroos. They're gonna cut. What is it? The government is really gonna come back and say, okay, no, you're not supposed to get it. You're supposed to tell your bank about it, and don't make an excuse saying that you tried to call your bank, because in actuality you were living it up or living the dream, as they say. So I have to give them praise for giving it back. I know it's hard to do. It's just like those people that find duffel bags of money on either trains or taxis or some odd place. They just find a like weird bag of money, briefcase of money. Not saying it was robbery or anything, but they find it and then they report it to authorities. There is a heart out here, even though a lot of people are saying that this pandemic is creating like monsters out of us. There is hope out here. If you are willing to give back $8 million within the day that the bank made an error, I have to respect that. I have to. I I have to. Even though I would take a longer, what is it? A longer period of time to say, "Hey, I'm giving the money back." Not because I want to give it back, but the strife for the guilt is killing me inside. I have to give the money back. And I just have to say, Mr. Calvin and Mr. Charles Calvin, you are honestly honest citizen, and I'm glad that you are showing hope in this, in what some may say is the dark of ages. The I don't know why would they call it dark times. We just have to stay cautious, guys. We're getting over this speed bump. They just gave us relief, even though I feel like they just gave us relief in our bank accounts, as they say that it's gonna come out, which I still, still watching and waiting, but nothing is happening in my account. But I'm just watching and seeing, but they are giving out relief. So the fact that they are giving out this relief, they're showing what is it? Society is showing like a different side. America is showing a different face to itself. Actually thinking about the little man, even though that they could gate, they could have given. I don't want to say more, but I don't want to say more. Beggars can't. What is it? Not beggars can't be choosers, but like what is it? Take it or leave it. Like I don't know who voted on it. I don't know who voted on the price range, because I feel like it shouldn't be like a universal number for everybody. A lot of people are struggling more than other people. So, but that's just on my debate on that. Like it all depends. I understand that you may seem that this is like a even balance that you can give everybody, but in America there's no like even balance. When you really think about it, there's a certain number of there's a certain number that are equal, that do live in like the same societies, but there's others that live in far worse societies or far worse communities. So you can look at the other communities and what is it? See what you can do more, not on the house, not on the cause of like giving them more money, but trying to see if you can repair, you know, reestablish and re-innovate like those communities that really do need care. But that's just me thinking about, the stuff that could happen throughout this pandemic, that there is like light to show that we can do it, but it all takes that one person to actually push it through. So I have to say we are getting through this hump, guys. And being that we are getting through this hump, be more like a Charles Calvin, even though you do see an error. And I have to respect them. I have to respect Calvin one more time, because like, even though you did see an error, you know, not saying his mind, his where his headspace was when he seen it. Because if I was seeing it, I would have been flabbergasted. I would have asked for another statement again, and then I would have been like, okay, this is real. But that's just on me. But be like a Mr. Calvin, like even though you feel as though, not saying you give back the money like Mr. Calvin. I'm not. You do whatever you do at the time of the moment. You do what you feel is correct. Not telling you what to do, but I feel like you should show more light in dark situations, and he did show more light in this dark situation that we live in with this pandemic. So, being that a lot of people would do the opposite or do something different than what Mr. Calvin have done, what Mr. Calvin did, really shows you that what is it? It's all about your perspective. So I feel like if you do change your perspective, you should look at how Mr. Calvin actually opened his heart, literally his bank account, to give back $8 million. But I'm not just here just to talk about $8 million. I am here to promote the fact of, let's get over this hump so I can go to a barbershop. I was going to do the show with my hair out, but I was like, can't do it with my hair out. I support all local barbers, and I support what we're doing to get over this hump positively. Hopefully, we can get through this so I can see a barber within. I'm just hoping for within this year. I don't know how long my hair will get, but within this year, can we just put our heads together to figure out what is our plan of attack next, guys? And please be safe, be cautious, and do not do not think you're a super do not think you're invincible, and all superheroes don't wear capes. So let's thank our, what is it, medical teams and medical staff. But do not think you're invincible. You are not above a virus. Okay, if you want to harm yourself, only harm your side. Do not bring it over to my side. And I feel a lot of people feel the same way. That's why we got masks and gloves on. And this has been me, Slick, here on Slick Speaks. Until tomorrow, guys. And this has been your Hump Day mashup. Hump Day, we got to get through the hump. Until next time.